Recchia exposes Clayton Echard, blows him up with truth. August 12, 2025. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, Bachelor Nation News fans. Bachelor Nation fans wanted to see Recchia return for Season 10 of Bachelor in Paradise. She was on Season 9 but left the beach without a love connection. Instead, Rachel joined Season 3 of Netflix's Perfect Match. In a surprising twist, her Bachelor ex, Clayton Echard, was also on the show. Immediately after Rachel arrived, Clayton expressed interest in rekindling their romance. However, he suddenly broke it off after a day. On an episode of Nick Viall's podcast, Clayton hinted that there was a deal breaker but refused to say what it was. In a post-show interview of her own, Recchia bluntly revealed why he dumped her. Again. Recchia was heartbroken when Clayton sent her and Gabby Windey home on Season 26 of The Bachelor so he could pursue Susie Evans. But she still gave Clayton a second chance on Perfect Match. It didn't end well. He shared his side of the story, and now she's ready to share hers. People magazine was given access to an upcoming episode of the What's the Reality podcast with Rachel as a guest. Rachel called Clayton out for being vague on Nick Viall's podcast. She said it caused even more speculation. Now people think I'm doing weird stuff behind closed doors or whatever, Rachel said. She shared the real reason why she thinks Clayton dumped her for a third time. Clayton feels we are incompatible, and that he was so sure is because I am not a gym girly, the Bachelorette star said. Rachel continued, "He wants someone that lives a very active lifestyle and goes to the gym and hits the weights, and it's not me. It's never gonna be me. I like to travel and to shop and to sit at the bar. I go on a hot girl walk." She speculated that he was vague about the real reason because he didn't want to look like he was body-shaming her. She realized he's not right for her anyway. Ultimately, Recchia agrees with Clayton that they aren't a perfect match after all. "I want my partner to have their own hobbies, and I think I bring a lot to the table, and I have a full life, and he does too." She wondered if she would have made it to the final 3 on The Bachelor if they had discussed her exercise routine on the ABC show. Susie Evans weighs in. Susie Evans is still living rent-free in the minds of Bachelor Nation men. After one brief date on Season 10 of Bachelor in Paradise, Jeremy Simon is still hung up on Susie despite giving a rose to Bailey Brown instead of Susie. Clayton Echard also name-checked his ex on Perfect Match. Susie Evans took to TikTok to share her reaction to her name being mentioned. "They tell me everything isn't about me," she said while watching a clip of Perfect Match. "But what if it is?" Recchia replied to the video, "I'm crying." Another fan added, "The chokehold you have on these men needs to be studied and taught." Sound off in the comments about the real reason Clayton dumped
were
Rachel.
harsh, bright enough to make every imperfection visible. But Recchia didn't care about perfection tonight. She only cared about the truth. It had been simmering inside her for months, a storm of frustration, heartbreak, and determination. And now, finally, it was time to let it out. The audience was buzzing with anticipation. Fans had been speculating for weeks about the explosive confrontation rumored to happen on tonight's exclusive tell-all special. Clayton Echard, the man who had charmed millions on The Bachelor, sat smugly across from her, unaware of the storm about to be unleashed. His confident smirk, that signature tilt of his head, made Rachel's blood boil, but she took a deep breath and centered herself. "Clayton," she began, her voice calm but firm, "I think it's time we talk about what really happened." The audience leaned forward, sensing the tension in the room. Cameras shifted, catching every angle. Clayton, for the first time since the cameras started rolling, looked slightly unsettled. "Oh," he replied, trying to keep his composure. "I'm all ears." Rachel's eyes narrowed. "You've been presenting yourself as someone honest, someone genuine, someone who cares. But behind the scenes, things were very different." A murmur ran through the audience. Clayton swallowed, his confident posture faltering. "During the season," Rachel continued, "I saw you manipulate situations, gaslight contestants, and create drama that didn't exist. And it's time the world knows about it." Clayton opened his mouth to respond, but Rachel cut him off. "No, you don't get to speak right now. I'm telling the story." The studio fell silent. Even the producers, who were usually in control of the narrative, sat frozen, caught off guard by Rachel's direct approach. "You told people I was overreacting, that I was being too sensitive," she said, her voice rising with controlled fury. "But I have proof. Texts, messages, recordings, all showing how you lied, cheated emotions, and played the nice guy act while secretly manipulating every interaction to your benefit." Clayton's jaw tightened. "Rachel, Don't," she snapped, shaking her head. "I'm done with the excuses. I'm done with you pretending to be the man everyone thinks you are. The truth is out now." She paused dramatically, letting her words sink in. The audience gasped. Cameras zoomed in on Clayton's face, revealing the flicker of panic that betrayed him. Rachel pulled out her phone and, with the permission of the producers, displayed a series of texts on the big screen behind them. Messages from contestants revealed a pattern of deception, manipulation, and broken promises. Each one added another layer to the story Clayton had tried so hard to control. "This," Rachel said, pointing to the first message, "is when you told contestant after contestant that you just wanted to get to know them, while simultaneously setting up situations to make others jealous. This is calculated, Clayton, and it's disgusting." Clayton's smugness was gone, replaced by a tight-lipped defensiveness. That's not what it looks like. You don't get to rewrite history. For years, you've been able to charm your way out of accountability, but tonight, that ends. The camera panned over the shocked audience. Social media was already lighting up in real time, viewers typing furiously, sharing clips, and tagging friends. This was unprecedented, a Bachelor lead being publicly called out by a former contestant, exposing truths the show had hidden for years. Rachel's hands didn't tremble, her heart pounded, but she felt powerful. Finally, she had the stage. Finally, she had the microphone. Finally, she had the world listening. "You told me, Clayton," she said, her voice breaking slightly with emotion, "that I was special, that we had something real. But it was all part of your image, all part of your brand. And the worst part? I believed you. I trusted you. And now, I see how wrong I was." Clayton opened his mouth again, but the moderator raised a hand. "Rachel has the floor." Rachel's gaze swept the room. "I'm not just speaking for myself. I'm speaking for every contestant who's been silenced, gaslit, or used for drama on national television. The truth matters. Integrity matters. And Clayton, you need to face that truth now, in front of everyone." The studio erupted into applause. Some cheered, some gasped, some were frozen in disbelief. But Rachel didn't care about reactions. She cared about accountability. She wanted justice, even if it was only the kind that could be served in front of cameras and millions of viewers. Clayton finally spoke, voice strained. "Rachel, No," she cut him off, eyes blazing. "I've had enough. You've had your chance to explain yourself behind closed doors, and look where that got us. Lies, manipulation, hurt. And now, everyone knows." The tension in the room was palpable. Every camera, every lens, every eye was on them. Rachel's heart raced, but she felt lighter, empowered. For years, she had carried this weight, doubted herself, and questioned if speaking out was worth it. Tonight proved it was. She leaned forward, voice softening slightly, but still firm. "Clayton, you might have fooled the world for a while, but truth always finds a way. And this is your reckoning." The show cut to commercial, leaving viewers at home hanging on every word. Social media exploded instantly. Clips of Rachel calling out Clayton trended within minutes. Fans debated, argued, and praised Rachel's courage. The world had seen a Bachelor lead exposed like never before, and there was no going briefly back. As the show returned from commercial. The tension in the studio was thicker than ever, a storm that had been building for months now, unleashed. Clayton Echard's confident veneer was cracking. Rachel, on the other hand, radiated a mix of fury and calm resolve, the kind of presence that made people lean in instinctively. The host, sensing the gravity of the moment, asked the question on everyone's mind. "Rachel, what made you decide to speak out tonight, in front of millions?" Rachel took a deep breath, her hands gripping the edge of the table. "Because the world deserves the truth.
Not just my story, but the stories of everyone who's been manipulated, belittled, or silenced by someone pretending to be sincere on national television. Clayton's charm fooled a lot of people, but it didn't fool me, and it won't fool the world anymore. A hush fell over the studio. The camera cut to Clayton, whose face betrayed unease. His fingers drummed nervously on the table. For the first time, the bravado that had carried him through rose ceremonies and Instagram highlights was gone. Rachel continued, her voice gaining momentum. "Let me take you back to the season. There were moments when I saw how calculated your actions were. You'd tell one contestant that she was the only one you were thinking about, then orchestrate situations to make another jealous. It was manipulation disguised as romance." The audience gasped. Flashbulbs popped as producers adjusted cameras to capture Clayton's reaction. He opened his mouth to speak, but Rachel wasn't finished. "And the worst part," she said, her voice cutting through the tension, "was the way you gaslight people afterward. You made them question themselves, their feelings, their worth. You twisted situations to make it seem like everyone else was the problem, when in reality, you were the common thread of deceit." Clayton's eyes darted to the floor. Sweat glistened on his forehead. He was used to controlling narratives, but here, live on air, the tables had turned. Rachel reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope thick with printed screenshots and text messages. "These are just a few examples," she said, holding it up. "Proof of the patterns, the lies, the manipulations." The screen behind her lit up with text threads, some from contestants still under anonymity, others revealing personal messages Clayton had sent. Each message was like a nail in the coffin of his carefully curated public image. "This first message," Rachel said, pointing, "shows you telling one contestant that you were falling for her, while simultaneously arranging a situation to make someone else feel insecure. Do you know what that is, Clayton?" Clayton swallowed hard. "Manipulation," he admitted quietly, his voice almost lost in the tension. "Exactly," Rachel said. "Manipulation, calculated and deliberate, and for months you've gotten away with it." The audience murmured, some nodding in disbelief, others shaking their heads. On social media, hashtags started trending instantly. Hashtag Rachel Recchia exposes, hashtag Bachelor Truth, hashtag Clayton exposed. Within minutes, clips were being shared, dissected, and debated worldwide. Rachel's next words were even sharper. "I trusted you, Clayton. I opened my heart, shared my emotions, and believed in what we had. And you," she paused, letting the silence hang heavy, "used it to further your image. That's not love, that's manipulation, that's betrayal." Clayton attempted to defend himself. "Rachel, that's not fair." "No," she interrupted, standing up now, her chair scraping slightly against the floor. Her voice was steady but thunderous. "It is fair, because it's the truth, and the truth can't be denied, no matter how many roses you hand out or how charming you appear on camera." For the first time, Clayton's composure broke completely. His shoulders slumped. He looked like a man stripped of his armor, exposed to the world. Rachel leaned closer, her voice lowering but gaining intensity. "I'm not just telling my story, I'm telling all the stories of people you've hurt. And from this moment forward, there's no hiding behind the title of The Bachelor. The world sees who you really are." She turned to the audience, her gaze fierce and unflinching. "And let this be a warning. Being famous doesn't give you immunity from accountability. Manipulation and deception have consequences, even on national television." The audience erupted into applause. Some shouted encouragement, others whispered in disbelief. Cameras panned over the stunned producers, crew members, and Clayton himself. He looked like a man caught in the crossfire of his own lies, unable to respond. As the applause settled, Rachel's voice softened slightly, but it still carried the weight of conviction. "I didn't come here to ruin anyone's life. I came here to speak the truth. And I hope that one day, Clayton, you understand the impact of your actions, not just on me, but on everyone you've hurt along the way." The host stepped in, clearly aware that the moment had reached a pinnacle. "Rachel, thank you. Clayton, any response?" Clayton hesitated, then sighed, his bravado completely gone. I didn't realize the impact of my actions. I thought I thought I was doing what was right. Clearly, I was wrong. Rachel shook her head, a mix of disappointment and resolution in her eyes. That's the first step, acknowledging the truth, but it doesn't undo the damage. The cameras rolled on, capturing every second of the fallout. The social media storm had begun. Clips went viral, interviews were scheduled, and news outlets started covering the story within hours. Rachel had not just exposed Clayton, she had ignited a conversation about integrity, accountability, and the dark underbelly of reality TV romance. As the show wrapped up, Rachel walked off stage, her head held high. The weight she had carried for months lifted slightly. She had faced the storm, spoken her truth, and held someone accountable. Backstage, producers approached her, a mix of awe and nervousness in their expressions. "Rachel, that was incredible," one said. Rachel smiled faintly, exhausted but resolute. It wasn't about being incredible, it was about being honest, and the world needed to hear it. Outside, fans waited, with signs and cameras. Some shouted her name, some whispered words of support. The night air was cool against her skin, but inside, Rachel felt a warmth she hadn't felt in months. Liberation. She had blown Clayton up with the truth, and for the first time in a long time, she felt untouchable, not because of fame, but because of integrity.